Thank you. They just go with the flow. It's the Hershey and Keegs show.
Welcome to Hershey and the Keegs show, starring pitcher Mark Hirschman and his personal catcher, Mike Keegan. Every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. live from the Governor's Comedy Club radio studio. Thanks so much for listening.
Well, we are here and we're ready to go. We're gonna have a good time. We got a great guest. How you doing over there,
We
Marco?
do have a great guest. I'm not as good as I was before you told me about a fucking pink eye. We are super excited. We have Renaissance man Billy Mira in studio tonight, and we're gonna have one of the best hours I think we've ever had on the show, and that says a lot. Before we start with Billy, we're gonna do half of our sponsors as we do every single week. Hershey and Keegs show is proudly sponsored by Demolition Specialists, 1-855-RIP-OUTS. The number you call for demolition, dumpsters, and fence rental. Family owned and operated for over 30 years, they are a fully licensed demolition contractor. We are also brought to you by Angela's Bra Boutique at 223. I told you to stop doing that, moron. Angela's Bra Boutique at 223 Main Street in Farmingdale. 516-249-6409. Personalized bra fittings providing a wide selection of brands, sizes, and styles. Triple M Professional Painting and Construction, 516-395-6390. Family owned and operated for over 35 years. Call for your free estimate today and ask for James. Brought to you by Impressions Dance Studio. Reach them at 516-735-0545. Take life by the hand and dance. 3103 North Jerusalem Road in Levittown. www.impressionsdancestudio.com. And also brought to you by Sunray Services. Now's the best time to convert to hybrid heating and cooling. Call them today at 631-231-5533 or visit them online at www.sunrayservices.com. Thank you, as always, to all of our sponsors. This will be the last week that Mike's microphone is turned on during the advertisements because you can't seem to get through that. I don't understand why. I don't know why that's so difficult for you. You're a 41-year-old man.
Boobs and farts. Boobs and farts are funny.
And styes. Most importantly, we are here with in studio with, like I said, Renaissance man Billy Mira, who has been on the Long Island scene now for many years. Film, radio, stand-up, singer, improv, you name it. Welcome to the show, Billy Mira.
Yeah, well, happy to be here. I got one song, though, I do want to sing.
Yes, please.
Hey, you with the sty in your eye.
He's going to croon you a sty.
It feels better now, actually. Yeah.
But stay the fuck away from me, all right?
Billy, we are more than happy to have you here. We have so much to go over. Obviously, we thought this was going to be an excellent week to have you on because on December 14th, you will be at McGuire's Comedy Club in Bohemia for your hilarious Hitman holiday jokes and jingles with Sal Governale. And I don't even know if there are tickets left. Are there tickets left for that show?
I don't know. I don't. I don't follow the tickets, but you can go to govs.com to get the tickets.
govs.com, December 14th, McGuire. You have Billy Mira, you have Salvatore Governale, you have opening act our boy Tony Landolfi, I believe. Is that correct?
That's right. Tony's going to be there with us as well.
That's going to be a great show.
Do you do a Tony Landolfi impression, by the way?
Yeah, I might do a little Tony Landolfi impression. Listen, don't fucking get washed me, all right, Keegan? I won't invite you to my next barbecue, okay?
Monty last week was like, you have to have Billy Mira do his Tony Landolfi impression.
So Monty's here, and we're expecting him to talk about the David Lee Roth, or he's like, nah, he does a great Tony Landolfi. And we love Tony, so of course we wanted to hear.
Yeah, of course.
But seriously,
Tony
there's
too.
no better show to get in the holiday spirit. These guys are awesome. Sal and Billy and Tony, and go check it out.
we have so much to go over. How did this particular show with Sal, the singing, the jokes, how did this show evolve? How did it come about for you guys?
Evolve. I like that word.
I just made it up.
How did this Hitman show evolve, Mr. Mira? Well, it actually came about. I developed a show called Billy Mira and the Hitmen when I got back from Vegas. I actually wrote it and came up with the concept of it when I was in Las Vegas.
Okay.
And I said, when I get back to New York, I'm going to develop this whole show. And I did it for a couple of years. And Sal really liked it. And he started coming down to the shows. And I asked him, hey, could start writing with me, because he loved it. He was like, this is a great show. And he came down. And then I started having him on stage with me. And then it was like a natural progression. I said, why don't we, do a show together?
Yeah.
Both of us, Dean and Jerry, be like a nice powerhouse thing. And that's exactly what we did. And we did our first show, which was February 14th, 2019. And it was a big success. And everybody loved it. And we didn't never practice the show, nothing. We just wrote it. But him and I were very... we practiced it all the time.
That was here you did that, right?
Yeah, that was the first time we had done it live. But him and I just went over it over and over. Yeah. And then we were working with a band, and it was very difficult. A lot of moving parts when you're working with a band. It's hard enough when you get a couple of guys together to coordinate them. Yeah. And then you got horns, and you got other musicians, and you need a musical director, and it becomes like a whole production. So, but we pulled it off. And we were able to do that, and we just kept going with it. We did one show after the other, and they just kept getting better and better and better. And then we kept tightening them up. And I got to tell you, one thing, knock on wood, the show's been a very big success and a sellout wherever we go. For the most part, we've had our challenges in certain areas, but it's sold out.
People rave about it, and obviously people know Billy Mira can sing, but the fact that Sal can also sing, I don't know how many people knew that, but he's got some pipes though. He definitely can carry a tune.
He can carry a tune, and he
surprised me because I originally knew Sal doing stand up with him, and then I heard him sing, and I'm like, oh geez, this guy,
he can sing.
He's got a great guy.
He's the man.
It's two great guys and two really talented guys.
Thanks, man.
So going back to when you graduated from high school, you're the only successful person I ever knew who graduated from East Meadow High School.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
I don't know.
I got Keegs right here.
Up until 2001 there, Mark.
So you graduate from East Meadow High School, and back then, if I remember correctly, because I certainly have been familiar with you over the years, I believe that your initial foray into music was you were a long hair metal dude, right? You were like a long rocker. Whiskey Road was the band. Is that correct?
God, yeah, my man.
We might even have. Hold on a sec. We might even have a little photo. Let's take a look at a photo of this.
That's on a delay. So.
Yeah,
okay, just wait up there.
A little throwback Billy Mira.
Oh my God.
It'll come up in a minute.
So Whiskey Road, how did that come about? Was it post high school? Were those the years or a little bit later?
It was post high school, and it was a band that I put together with my buddy Dave, and we went to Florida, and we went back and forth up and down the coast. Oh my God, there I am in the middle with the
oh my
with
God.
the roses on my jeans. Yeah, that's me.
What year is that, Billy?
I would say that's probably the early '90s.
Okay.
That was like right after the whole hair metal explosion. That was probably in the grunge era, believe it or not. But yeah, that's
beautiful
what we
hair.
we will.
So you're in your 20s at that point.
Yeah.
You're in your 20s.
Swinging dick, the whole nine.
Yeah.
And just
Don't get excited, Mike.
Traveling and we were like a signed band to a label, but we got caught in the transition between hair metal and the grunge era that basically shelved a lot of acts.
Okay.
Which was disheartening, but it was a great era of music. It was so much fun to be a part of all of it, and from it, I have a lot of dear friends that are from that era that were very successful.
Yeah.
Dear friends that I talk to this day, and a lot of great memories that evolved me to be who I am.
Yeah.
Today,
I was curious. Are you still in touch with the Whiskey Road guys? Is that like that crew of people?
I am. We talk from time to time.
Yeah.
Some of the guys will come down to the shows, and some of the guys have completely taken a completely different direction in life.
Tommy Tobacco, Rob Wachowski,
yeah.
Bill Giambone, Rick D'Amata.
Yeah. My God, you guys did your homework.
Well, one of us did.
He knew that. He just knew it off the top up.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
I mean, it's funny, like looking back, and I'm sure we talk about this with every guest who has a history in entertainment, but you really have a very interesting pedigree. I mean, the fact that you've been on film, you've been on radio, you've done stand-up, you sing, you've done improv, that resume is pretty not typical.
Can you juggle?
Yeah.
No, I'm not Steve Martin.
Okay, all right.
Well, I mean,
I wish I could.
I know, right?
I wish I could do that.
Never too old.
do you attribute that to just like you need to reinvent yourself? You're getting bored? Is that what happens with you over the years? I mean, how did that?
No, I think it's other people. Like everybody said, you can't do this. And that was how, like, when I came up with Billy Mirror and the Hitmen, it was, how do I combine everything I've ever done into one show? And that's where I said, you know what, I'm going to sing, I'm going to tell jokes, I'm going to do impressions, I'm going to do all of this stuff, comedy, and I'm going to make it work for one thing. It's just, I think it's a natural thing for any performer, most performers. If you're an actor, you want to be a singer. If you're a singer, you want to be an actor, and so on and so forth. The one thing, the transition, I think, is, and a lot of the old, that's why I'm a really big fan of like Sammy Davis Jr. and Frank Sinatra and Elvis, because those guys did everything.
Yeah.
So for them, they did stand up, and they were able to, like Sammy Davis and all those guys.
Dean Martin, Jerry Lewis, they sang, they told jokes.
They tell jokes. Those, to me, that's the true, all around entertainment.
That's a show.
Right.
Yeah, and it was just something I just did naturally. It wasn't like, the only thing I can't really do, I do moves, but I'm not like a great dancer. Like, I'm not like Sammy Davis. I wish I,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I could do some like Elvis moves and stuff like that, but
Well, Mark can come down. He'll dance for
I could
you.
do that. I can do the one-legged willy-nilly. I could do that.
I'm not like Rerun from What's Happening.
You
I
can
all of a
do
sudden,
Yeah.
I gotta, start.
So you're a dud at the Allman Brothers concert. Is that what it is?
Yeah, that was great.
Right? One of the best episodes ever.
The Doobies.
Doobie
The
Brothers.
Doobie
That's
Brothers.
right. You're right. You're right.
Which Doobie you be?
That's fantastic. The fact that you had essentially Billy Mirror and the Hitman was like almost like a big band. Like, was it an 8-9 piece band that you had? Like
about 11 pieces.
Jeez Louise.
It was 5 to plus of horns, piano, backup singers, upright bass, and guitars and drums, typical stuff. But it was like swing, so like not everybody could play the music. That was the challenge too, is like get those quality musicians. And I've had some real top tier guys that have come through the band that have gone on, from playing with me, and then they go on and they play with like these big heavy metal bands. The drummer that I had was playing in Slaughter now, and a lot of these guys went on to play with like all these other. So it's great in that aspect. So it's had a very eclectic. Some guys I didn't even know who could play that stuff, because you got to know how to read music.
Yeah.
And not all guys can read music. So to play in a band like that, I need to be able to hand you sheet music, and you take it. And so I have friends of mine on Broadway that are great rock players that can do that. But not everybody can do it.
So are you self-taught with that, or is that through high school that you started to learn how to read sheet music?
I don't read.
Oh, you don't read music?
No, I don't read music. But I don't play sax or anything.
Right.
And there are some guys who can play by ear.
Right.
If I would be more of one of those guys, I wouldn't be like a trained, because there are guys that's all they do. If you're a sax player and I hand you sheet music, you play sax, in whatever band or production.
Right.
You have to be able to read. A guy like me is like a performer. I'm like Hendrix. I do it. I do it all. I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but I somehow pull it off.
You definitely pull it off. I'm just curious, like when you were a young person, were you, like Mike always talks about how he wanted to be a stand-up from the time he was little. Did you want to be a stand-up? Did you want to be a singer, or you just wanted to entertain, period?
Everything. I had it. Yeah, I remember that when I used to take a tape recorder when I was a little kid, and in those days in the 70s, that's all I would tape it, and I would start doing voices. I was an only kid. We didn't have the internet back then.
Right.
That's one of the things about, your brain expands and you become this imaginative person.
Yeah.
And I think in those days, that's what probably played into that. So I would come up with characters, and I would think about things that I wanted to be, and I was always listening to music. I was always getting involved with plays. I was acting, singing, and people have a big influence on you. Like I remember being in chorus, and the teacher going, you have a very nice voice, William. There's a kid that's like, I got a good voice.
Yeah.
And then, you go, wow. I got a good voice. So you believe it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, you know, you have people around you going, you can do anything you want. And I can do anything I want. But so that's what you do. You just keep going, fuck it, I can do it. You believe it. And then you just develop into all this. So to me, the sky was the limit. I didn't think, you know, I was into drama. So I was in drama class. I studied drama. So it was just, for me, it was all the same shit. I never said, I'm just going to do this until I was in a rock band. And that's all I was doing, you know. But I look back and I go, man, I should have tried out for commercials and shows. And I should have tried to, you know, get on, what was that show they used to have on MTV? Like, they used to, everybody used to live in the same house.
Oh,
yeah.
Real World.
The Real World. I used to know, like, I used to walk in and I was managed by people at MTV many years ago. And I used to walk in and see Nye and all these people. And I used to just run into Duff and I'd be like, man, you know, you know, and I'd be like, shit, I want to be on that show. But I just thought it was like, you know, maybe that would be a little too weird. But I knew guys, I knew all those guys.
But the truth is, they were just regular people in a house. You were a performer. You needed to be on stage. That was your thing.
I was like, I'm going to be a rock star, man. You know, fuck that Real World shit, you know. Meanwhile, some of those guys went on to do some amazing stuff.
But you still, you know, we talked about this with Monty a couple of weeks ago, that certainly in our comedy community, how many incredible comics that we know that aren't nationally known maybe, but the truth is they're unbelievable at what they do. You don't have to be quote unquote famous in order to be significant and leave a mark on people's life. Like when you and Sal do this show, I've heard people rave like it's the best show they've ever seen. Like they have a good time.
The Eisenhower last year.
Yeah, we did.
Everybody was raving about that.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
We did Lakeside Theater. Whenever we weren't sure if the show was going to transfer in a big theater like that, and it does. I did it in a bunch of theaters. Yeah. You know, but now Sal and I are going because we did a lot of clubs, and then we started filling the theaters and said, man, I can't believe the response. You know, it's great. So we've been doing really well in the theaters as well.
You're having a blast doing it. I'm trying to figure out like the schedule here. Like you were a musician, but then you were in clubs. You were working mics. You were doing stand up. Like at what point did that come into your life?
It was probably around 2002 for me. Believe it or not, Tony Landolfi plays a very big role in my life because I met him outside of the world of comedy. We knew each other. And
why? Because he was Sal's cousin, you mean?
No,
or just
no,
he was working for the radio station.
He was well, yeah, he was at the time, and him and I used to. We knew each other, but we didn't really know each other. I didn't know he was a comedian. I had no idea.
We still don't know.
Yeah.
He's a killer.
Listen,
he's
that's
the
not
best.
funny.
He's a killer.
I'll tell you, one of the first
get you on
shows
that
I saw, I went to see Jim Norton at the old downtown in Farmingdale, and Tony was opening for him. And I remember those bits, and this is years and years before I knew Tony.
Yeah.
And then I met him, I'm like, you're the guy that does this bit and this bit. He's like, yeah. You know, so
He's very humble.
Very
he
funny.
is, and he's a killer
He's very
comic.
funny.
You should do that whack-a-weed bit. Yeah,
the whack-a-weed.
whack-a-weed.
He doesn't do it anymore, but he did the whack-a-weed back
He did it back then, yeah. So, and I didn't know. And I remember when I got started, I walked into a comedy club, which was the Brokerage at the time, which was not part of Governor's. And I walked, and just to do improv, that's how I started doing the improv. So I got to break into this career somehow. And I got to be, you know, and I saw Tony, and I said, what the fuck are you doing here? And he was like,
I'm a comedian, jerk off, you know. I'll shine up and do some time, all right?
And that was, and then that was the first time I had a book, you know, and I walked into a comedy club and I had a book. I didn't know what the hell I was going to do, and I handed it to the host, and he goes, "What do you do?" And I said, "I don't know. I'm gonna give this a shot."
Yeah.
And he goes, "Well, I'm doing some impressions." He goes,
Let me guess, Italian impressions? He goes, yeah, that's what we need, another Italian guy doing Italian impressions.
So I thought to myself, oh shit, maybe the impressions thing is not going to work. Lo and behold, a year later, I went from here to like all of a sudden it was crazy what had happened in my career, thanks to meeting Tony and Sal and that whole progression. Yeah. But yeah, that's how it all started. I just walked into a comedy club and boom, I started doing improv. And at the time, Jim Gallagher was running the improv class, I guess they used to call it.
Yeah.
And then who was the other guy that was doing it after him? He used to work with Paul Bond all the time. Oh my God, I can't off the top of my head. But we all started doing comedy together. It was a whole bunch of guys that at the time were really good at it, and we developed a troupe together. And we started doing it in the city. And the names will come to me. You know, some of these guys are having around.
It's
Al
the other
Isaac.
thing-
Al Isaac.
Oh, Al Isaac.
Isaac. I just
Al
saw him.
Isaac.
And who's
I
the other
just saw
guy?
him-
He's with Baker.
Well, he was with Baker.
Scott
Yeah.
Baker. Yeah,
Yeah.
Scott Baker.
Al
was-
Isaacs, I just saw him like 2 weeks ago. He was at one of my shows. I actually did a show with him. He was doing the improv, and I was doing stand up at.
So you were in a troupe with those guys?
Dan Frick was involved at the
Oh,
time.
God.
Okay.
Yeah, Dan Frick. But it was like Scott Baker. All those guys, they were great. And there was this guy, Cesar Sanchez. I know. I know. You know.
All the other guys are great.
No. So it wound up, everybody was doing, we started doing shows together. And then I just started developing an act. I just had to go first and, head first into it. And in a year or two, then I met a bunch of guys, and then the whole rest is history. It was like literally the craziest thing. From Tony, that's how I met Sal. And I had just, we talk about it in the show. People think we're making it up. It's not a made-up thing. I called into the Stern Show that day, and I started doing an Ozzy Osbourne impression, and Howard and Ozzy Osbourne hung up on me. It's just all the thing was all these guys, and he was I said, it's just not that funny. And so, they're good. Yeah, and then you get Kelly. It's not. You have to stutter a little bit more. And I was like, really, like, what the? I was like, wow.
Yeah, right.
I was like bummed out. And I went to the comedy club that night, and I walk in, and there's Tony in another place. We're in Limbrook, and he turns around and he goes, what's your matter? And I go, I don't know. I called into the Stern Show today. I thought I did like the greatest Ozzy Osbourne impression. They hung up. He goes, yeah, my cousin right here. He's, he knows those guys pretty well over there. And Sal turns around, and he goes, you're the guy who called in as Ozzy? He goes, no, you're not. He goes, you're the guy who called in. He goes, everybody was trying to figure out who that guy was who called in as Ozzy and why Howard hung up on you. He goes, I said, why did Howard hung up? Because it was John who really originally heard me on the phone and patched me right through.
Okay.
And he goes, in 7 days, if you can convince one guy that you're Ozzy, I'll have you on the show in 7 days. And he made me call Kamal from the Jerky Boys of all people. Yeah. And I get on the phone with him, and I go, come on, it's great to, what the fuck are you doing, I can't, who's this fucking guy who tells me he's friends with you? He goes, Ozzy, what's up, man? I go, and then the rest is history. And Sal goes, that's it. If you can convince him, because he knows Ozzy. Ozzy was like a huge Jerky Boy fan. I wound up doing a film with Kamal, because he was like, that's how the whole film thing started. And the rest is history. And then I got on the show, and
so you just called in as a caller, just a regular, like, that's it, like you didn't have a spot, nothing. Calling in.
I called in. I was there, and I used to call into shows and do impressions. I got onto, that's how I became good friends with my buddy Rob Rush. At the time, he's like 94.3 The Shark now. He's like the main guy over there. You hear him on everything, the Mets. He was a guy on a rock station, and I would just call into all these stations. Donna put me on from BAB, all these people. I would just go in and, this is Sammy Hagar, man. It's great to be here tonight. This time with David Lee Roth, the Van Halen. I'm the real singer of Van Halen. We're down here at the Friendlies in Comac. One of those things. I'm gonna smash you like an ice cream sundae, like a stripper from the Smithtown, stripper. And I would just make up all this crazy stuff, and I would go on all these radio stations. Rob put me on, and so. And the next thing you know, I'm just, one thing led to another, and I started doing it on Stern a lot. And then once you start doing it on that show, in those years, you're legitimized. That was
absolutely.
it. So now I start, this is how I met guys like Eddie Trunk, who I used to speak to about coming on the show. And I know he was working with Brewer, and that's how I met Jim Brewer. Me and Jim Brewer met up at Sirius. And that was an amazing relationship him and I had, because him and I were very similar in a lot of ways. Me and Jim was another turning point, because Jim was like a guy who was like, you should have her, I want to put you on stage now in front of some of your fucking people, and you're gonna go out there and you're gonna crush it, you're gonna fucking have a good time. And that's the way he really was. Jim was like Jim's thing was always you don't give a fuck, but give a fuck. You know what I mean? But you got to go up there, and and that's where I learned a lot. And I had a crash course from being propelled into that world, from literally never doing it to all of a sudden I'm working with all these people. I'm working with Artie Lang, and I'm being pushed in, and I'm working with Bob Levy, and I'm traveling around the country because I'm a Stern personality, and I got that opportunity to do that, which was amazing.
What's even more amazing about it is that you were already in the early 2000s, your late 20s, early 30s. Like this was well into your other career. You were already.
This was afterwards. I thought I was dead in the water at that point. People always tell you. That's why I say never listen to people, man.
Yeah.
Never, like I'm working on projects now that I go, I never say, well, you never say never, that's too late, because you never know. All of a sudden something happens and you're like, who would have thought I would have got into comedy? That would have propelled a whole new career. That I would become known by David Lee Roth, Sammy Hagar. I would go on to do work on his radio show, and I would go work to all these people and guys in these that I looked up to in these huge metal bands. I would become good friends with. Yeah. If you would have told me that, 5 years before that, I would have said no way. But they were big fans, from doing all that stuff, and it was crazy. I remember once I was going on stage opening up for Judas Priest, at Eddie Trunk's 25th anniversary party in the city, and I got a tap on my shoulder, and it's Mike Piazza. And I'm like, and Mike Piazza goes, he goes, dude, I just want to say I'm a huge
You want to make love?
yeah.
I'll meet in the back.
You want to meet in the back? And I'm like, I'll suck it. Shit, first time.
And that opened up a whole new door.
Another door.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Moments like that, which I could just go on, that was like an,
Mike Piazza. He knows who I am. Exactly.
Like, people like that, but so that was cool.
We talk about it a lot on the show with guests, is that those surreal moments that you have. Do you take some time to look back at these moments that you still can't even comprehend, the piazzas and things like that when they happen? It's just like still blows your mind after all these years.
No, you know what blows my mind? After all the things that you go, you're just still trying to do things like anybody else. I mean, I'm amazed that anybody would think, because I go, I guess that was kind of cool,
Sure.
But I go, shit, I'm still striving for stuff. I was working on a project last year that was a pilot for something, and that has had problems. It's like, you go, man, I'm still trying to make things happen. I work with people all the time that were up here at one time, and they go back down.
Me too.
Yeah,
I never really. Well, it's a perfect example. And I don't know if you've worked with them, but I know a lot of the guys that we came up with work with J.J. Walker a lot. And J.J. Walker, Good Times, was the biggest show basically on television for years. And now he's a regular road comic, right, Mike?
Yeah.
I mean, he's just.
I know a lot of guys that work with him in Atlantic City, and he doesn't even want to headline. Like, I'll have friends of mine that have headlined for J.J. Walker, and he'll feature and stuff. Like, he doesn't. He could. He doesn't want to.
But what
he's
Billy's
just a regular,
talking about,
he's
like
just a regular road dog.
the guys who were up here and now they're humbled a little bit.
Yeah, no, and that's really the thing, is that you don't lose sight to say, because there were years, trust me, when not that I would, more of that, I don't think I was ever like an egotist. Like, I think it was more of taking things for granted. When you get into that world and it gets kind of, you're in the middle of things, you kind of go, you don't think it's going to end, or you're not sure when it's going to end, and it's going to come down. And you get home and you go, it's all bullshit. Everybody's just people trying to get through things, and some people have done a little more, some people have done a little less, but you never know when that next guy is. I mean, look at Chris Roach.
Yeah,
Chris is a great example. He was on that show.
Never heard of him.
Yeah, with him, like, I remember we were doing Christmas parties together years ago. We were just talking about. We just did a show last night together.
Yeah,
we did a private event, and I laughed. I go, remember we were doing? I go, Chris, listen, it's like when we did the Christmas party, except it's like 140 people. It's a corporate event.
Yeah.
And he starts laughing. I go, you remember the Christmas party? I go, so I don't even know bullshit. Yeah. So, but then he went on to do all these, he was in a ton of films, Kevin Can Wait, and blah, 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 blah. And, and here we are again. We're like performing in front of like a corporate party, and you go, Does this shit ever fucking end? Does it ever fucking end?
As Joe Starr would always say to me, show business. That's what he would say. Show business. That's what it is.
Show business,
He doesn't
babe.
know many
You
other
know,
words, I don't
babe.
think.
Huh? Show business.
Joe Starr doesn't know many other words.
It's funny what you say that. So when Roach landed that part, and obviously all of us were, we were overwhelmed with joy for him because we love Roach. We would perform with him all the time. And I think it was the day that he announced it, and I texted him a picture of him and my 3 kids when he was Coyote Chris or whatever he was called at White Post Farm. He was
my God.
Yeah, he was some sort of character.
Didn't Rich Walker do those stuff?
Walker did it. Monty did it. So I don't remember what Roach, but there's a picture of Roach, and my kids are now 21, 19, and 14. But at the time they were little kids, and it was Roach and the 3 of them at White Post. And now it was around the corner actually. His first episode that he shot for Kevin was right here in Levittown, around the block. He was in like a go-kart or a garbage truck or something like that.
Right.
And I saw him there, and it was like emotional for him and us. The fact that this is where he did comedy for so many years and still does, and then he's on a national television show.
You
Phenomenal.
Just, it's just an example of just fortitude and sticking with it, and he worked on his craft and he kept coming along. So and things change. So things go up and they go down, and you never know when that next thing is going to happen. So
do you still find yourself every day motivated by the fear or the thought that, hey, maybe it's not gonna work out, this thing, so you just keep on driving yourself because of that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always amazed at how, and that's another thing too, how fast projects come together and they fall apart.
Yeah.
That's another thing that's this industry is just crazy with. But yeah, I mean, you just keep going through things as I want to say as an artist, not what's always gonna make you famous. I think sometimes you lose a little of that edge, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, because the older you get, the more jaded you get. You go, I just fucking do this because I like it.
I just want to do it because I like it.
I fucking love doing it. Yeah, I just love doing it. And if you're not doing it for that, you're not really doing it. I come from a different era. I can't relate to these Instagram and TikTok shit and all that.
You talked about that recently.
Yeah, like I don't have I just don't have the energy to sit and do that. Like,
I don't want to put up 5 videos a day, and there's no talent behind it. Like, they didn't work behind it, but it's all instant overnight success. And
and you go, God bless them.
Hey, good, yeah.
I'm not one of those guys who you didn't make it the right way. I go, God bless him.
Yeah.
That's what I say. I have a friend of mine who's a huge Instagram star, Big Time Tommy. Tommy. Yeah, and Tommy's a very close friend of mine.
He always tells me all the time, you should be a huge star right now, Billy Mirror.
And he goes, he's always talking to me about it. He goes, and he'll call me up and he goes, you need to keep going. I want you to be, and I was like, look, Tommy, look at you. You make these videos. I said, you found a niche. You got this character that you created, and look at all the stuff, you've done from that. And I always say, God bless, man. Yeah. But Tommy'd be the first to tell you, I can't sing, I can't dance, and he can hardly fucking walk.
But I can make a peanut butter. I can make a peanut butter bologna.
Yeah, but I can fucking make a bologna sandwich
and show you how to do it. And he's like, you're sitting there, and what the fuck? And you go, hey.
People want to watch it.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. That is a talent. He knows how to entertain
That is
people.
a talent.
He knows what people want to see, and he puts his.
He knows how to quantify, quantify himself.
He does. Yeah. All right. Speaking of labors of love, we're gonna go ahead and hit up our next 5 sponsors for the Herschy and Keegs show. Certainly a labor of love. Minuteman Sewer and Drain, Minuteman Plumbing and Heating. Call 1-800-287-1772 for 24-hour a day, 7-day a week service, and ask for my friend Bill. Then we have American Restoration Solutions. When disaster strikes, they'll guide you to recovery. Call 516-662-9377 and ask for Senior Account Manager Keith Dunn. Brought to you by New View Construction. Established in 2007, they're the people to call for the finest craftsmanship and all of your general contracting needs. Call 516-924-5627 and do it with confidence. certainly
I
this
always
is,
do it with confidence.
You do everything with confidence. Sip and Serve waitress and bartending service. This is really kind of for this month especially. Elevate your next private party with Sip and Serve Squad. Their awesome bar and wait staff will ensure your event will be unforgettable. Book now and let them handle the details while you enjoy the celebration. Call Jen at 516-528-6783. And certainly, last but not least, our New York State licensed real estate person, Diane Keegan from
Whoa,
All
I know
Island
her.
Estates Realty Corporation. You can call Diane, Mike's mom, directly at 516-458-1864 or email her at diane@allislandestates.com. If you're looking to rent, sell, or buy, make Diane your first call. How about her, that lovely lady?
That is a lovely lady. And then buy all of your houses from her so I don't have to work anymore.
That's right,
it.
exactly. And then I can get a new
I think I
podcast.
met your mom once.
You
Yeah,
did
I
at the Westbury when you were at the
When I
Westbury
was-
Manor,
I was
right?
singing at the Polo Lounge.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, she's a nice lady.
Yeah,
Look at that
yeah,
beautiful
she
woman.
still
She
is,
is
isn't
a
she?
wonderful, wonderful
Yeah,
lady.
she is.
Yep.
So Mike's inspired by Diane Keegan. We know that every day. Billy, when you were a kid, you were inspired by the Rat Pack kind of guys. It was the Sinatras, the Sammy Davises. Nowadays, who do you like to watch? When you're just chilling on TV, movie, whatever the case may be, who does it for you nowadays?
That's a
Tony
No,
Randolph.
no,
Music or
no.
comedy?
I always follow, and maybe just because I'm an old soul and I'm like an old creature of habit. I follow Stallone. I'm fascinated with Sylvester Stallone because he's a self-made guy.
Yeah.
Who is eloquent. A lot of people don't realize that was a character. You know, the characters that he created: Rambo, Rocky,
of course.
all of these guys who make him sound. You know, even the new one that he has, Tulsa King. I just
What a
watched the
great
whole
show.
Yeah,
I love that
a
show.
cool show that understands. He just gets it. You know, and he writes. So that's probably a guy that I watch, that I follow.
I love Stallone.
Yeah, at this point. And that's it. I'm not really a big buff to go around to so many different shows.
Well, you're busy.
Yeah. I'm not like a junkie, like a series junkie. Like I
Right.
sit around. I'm a news junkie.
Mm-hmm.
I like the news, and I like listening to all different outlets. That's something I do. Political. I think that the political climate has become crazy
That's
in
the
the
most
past.
entertaining thing that's fucking going on.
Yeah, I don't understand that either. I love the human condition. I love studying. What I really am fascinated about is how people, and this is something I think they'll talk about years from now, not so much because of the sensitivity of everything now, is how somebody can watch, two different people can watch the same thing and have two different perceptions of what's going on. And I often say, is this mind control? Like, what are we looking at in the media? And like, how is this one person will look at something a certain way,
Sure.
and the other person, and they have these opposing beliefs.
Yeah.
You know, so that's something I'm fascinated by, believe it or not. And just doing research of my own, and that's it. What's going on in the world?
So what do you, I mean, you're working on projects. You must have, I can just tell you're a very motivated and driven kind of guy. What's on the horizon? What do you want to happen? What are the goals that you're striving for right now?
Ideally, I'd like to do everything at once. I'd really like to get a series. I'd really like to get be in a successful series. Who wouldn't? I think that sounds typical,
No, but it's feasible for someone who has the pedigree. It's not just a random thing. It makes sense that you probably have a little framework put together in your mind, I'm sure.
Yeah, there's some stuff that are going on, and there's some possibilities that are happening. And every time I think it's done, it keeps coming back. And there's, something that's pretty solid that's coming up. That I landed a lead in, and then that it's going to be done. That I had to go out to California and do the whole thing. So that's something I'd really like to see get finished. But that always seems to have some hiccups. It has nothing to do with me. They're just production stuff.
Just the business.
Just the business, yeah. But that's pretty big with some guys, and with some guys that I really look forward to working with. And then, every time I think, well, it's not going to happen, and all of a sudden I get a phone call, well, they're closer to this, and this may happen, and this may do this. So that would be a great thing. So if I could do that, I'd love to do a radio show. I'd love to do a series. I'd love to travel, and I'd love to keep developing this show, The Hilarious Hitman, with Sal and myself. And even him and I work together on a lot of projects because the chemistry between Sal and I is really amazing. And even when we bring Richard in and some of the other people, Tony, and but Sal and me, we complement each other. Sal almost, I don't know if you've probably listened to me, I have a little ADD where I can go all over the place.
I couldn't tell.
I would get involved with everything. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, forget about it. But could put a puzzle together though pretty quick. But I'm one of those people.
Sure.
Sal has a way of centering me because I come up with I'm a great idea guy. I'm a great sketch guy. Like I come in and I go, I want to do this. I have this idea, and I think this is the way we should do it. And then I go, all the details to fill it in are just so fucking tedious that it takes me a while to come in, and I start second guessing all the minutia of the whole thing. That's where Sal comes in, and Sal's able to come in and say, okay, this is how we're going to do this. And we're gonna
complement
cut
each
this.
other, yeah.
So we complement each other. He's a great comedian, so I follow his leads with comedy. So we have our stronger points. I'm a professional singer. Sal's coming. He sings well. So it's like we don't step on each other in that aspect, and we support each other. We tell each other how great we are on stage, which could get to nauseum sometimes.
But even just hanging out with the two of you, I'll laugh my ass off for 3 hours. You guys are just fun together. You have a great
Yeah,
chemistry.
we have a great, we know where we're going with a conversation,
Yeah.
and we laugh at
If
the
we're
same
sitting at the bar
dumb
here at
shit. We're
Governor's,
already
yeah.
thinking it in our
love that.
head.
Do you think that part of the reason why this works? I know Sal a little bit personally. He's just a wonderful person. He's a great guy, and I'm sure that helps. When you're making business decisions, that it's not a constant battle. You're not constantly arguing about things.
No,
It's
we know who to like. I know where his strong points are, and he knows where my strong
Yeah.
points are, and where my weak points are, and so that's why I said we don't mind. You take control of that, and then you're gonna do this. Hey, I need a little help with that. All right, sure, I'll step in. So we kind of complement each other,
Yeah.
But I'm always amazed. We could write, we'll sit here for 2 hours writing. That's something we're really good. And he's documenting, recording, and he'll come back and everything's transcribed and everything's in the script. That's where he's really strong.
So you're talking about bits. You're talking about
bits. Yeah, bits. We come up with bits. Him and I will sit and we'll laugh back and forth with a bit, and we'll go, and I'm going,
You'll do this. I'll do
he's
this. I'll do
recording
this.
it, and he's recording it. Next thing you know, he comes back and there it is. It's all orchestrated, which is something that he's really good at doing because he does it every day.
Yeah.
He does it professionally.
And I'm sure going back to his early days, his finance brain probably has something to do with that also. That he's a very smart guy. You can't. I don't think that you can be successful in this type of industry if you're a dummy. I've always said that the smartest people usually make really good comics or entertainers, and that's probably Sal as well. That he has his brain works this way, yours works that way, and it matches.
Right. I'm like looking at the world through a kaleidoscope.
Yeah.
Where he can be a little more this with a lot of creativity. He's also very quick-witted, which is great.
Yeah.
So and then when I'm rolling too, it's like we're rolling thunder together. But he can sometimes get me going.
Yeah.
And so
you just love being around each other. That's really you're not really working when you're working.
No. We
Yeah.
have a lot of we're really connected spirits in a lot of ways. Yeah. Listen, we affected each other's lives, and I always said it to the time I mentioned Sal changed, my life in a lot of ways. Tony, it was like a one progression thing. So those guys are a very important sect. Not to get emotional about it, but
No, get emotional. That's what,
a very
I'm
special
Oprah
piece
Winfrey.
in my life. They were a part of my life. You go, boom. That's a very much, and we've been brothers ever since.
Yeah, and they're awesome guys. I mean,
Yeah, Tony and
Yeah.
and Sal, and we get together. It's like the old days. The three of us get together.
So they're your guys from here on out for the next 50 years, God willing. That's your crew. That's your family.
I would like to say them. They're my. I'd like to announce they are my ride or fucking die man. Okay.
Yeah. I love Tony. I love Sal. I think you got yourself in a good situation. When you're on stage, and this is something that we talk about on the show a lot, do you ever give yourself an opportunity to reflect on how much the audience is enjoying what you're doing? Because that feeling that we were talking with Monty and Richie Byrne a couple of weeks ago about the high that you get when you walk off stage and you do well. Do you ever give yourself a chance to really think about, wow, we left that crowd so impactful?
Yeah, well, Sal will always live. Even when we recorded some of the most popular bits, like ever, on couple of radio shows.
Yeah.
I'll always do the same thing. I go, you think anybody's gonna like that? Like, it's just like I don't know what it is, but
it's a
I
crazy
am always
mentality.
second guessing, always because I'm always going, how could it have been better?
Yeah.
Always, I should have said that. Like, so there's like a thought, and I go, I should have said that, and that's like a painstaking thing.
Perfect as the audience thought it was. You'll always.
Yeah, as perfect as they thought it was, even though they're screaming and yelling. I
Yeah.
mean, we've gotten standing ovations, and I go, that was great. You know. Do you think it was as good? Do you think it really do you think it was good? Buddy, they loved it. Listen, and I go, and I go, really? I know, that last. You think we could have did? And I think that's what helps us strive. I think if once you get complacent in that, that's.
But you were talking about a couple of weeks ago, the mentality of being on stage, knowing you're doing great, and then seeing that table that's like not paying attention, like what that does to you as a performer.
You always see that one table or that one person that's not enjoying themselves, and that's all you'll focus on.
And the rest of the people could be banging the table, but you're focusing on why you're not hitting with those people.
There was, it was at a comedy club like a month ago, and the room was full. It was at McGuire's. There was one small table in the back, and you could just they just weren't into anybody. They weren't into anybody. Keith Anthony was on. They weren't into it.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
I'm like,
nuts,
it's the table. Sometimes you got to blame the table, but that's all I focused on the whole time, and everybody else in the room is having a great time, and you get in your head.
Yeah. I think that's just a natural, naturally insecure thing.
Isn't that amazing that as performers that we have this thing where it's never perfect, it's never right.
Well, it's not even just that it's perfect. Just to get into another aspect of it, what's amazing to me is when you go into the conceptualizing it in your brain. To me, this always amazes me. And then it worked in a theater, and I go, that's crazy. I thought of it here, and the next thing you know, it happens. That is where I go, and I watch back the playbacks, and I go, wow, I can't believe that worked. I saw it exactly how I saw it. And, that's where you kind of go, if you look at something, and it bombs, and you go, that is not how I saw that at all.
Yeah.
I did not see that happen. But that always amazes me, where you go, wow, that's how I pictured it. And that's a lot of what fighters do. I was also in the fighting game as well.
Yeah.
I covered the sport of mixed martial arts. I trained in mixed.
That was in Vegas. You did that?
In Las Vegas. And fighters are 80% mental. Didn't they tell you? As soon as a fighter stops believing in themselves, it's over.
Mm-hmm.
80% mental, 20% physicality, and being physical and training and learning your art. And that's the one thing too about performing. It's 80% mental.
Oh wow!
It's almost, that's why I always say I'm going into a training camp. If there's something going on, I always look at it as fighting.
I saw it's so ironic that you're saying this, because I saw a TikTok clip earlier today, and it was a boxing match of a few years ago, and they had a mic on the corner, and the trainer was talking to the fighter, and the fighter said in the middle of the match, I don't want to be here. He said, I don't want to be here. He was done. And the trainer went fucking crazy. He went crazy because he knew that his fighter was done.
I've seen fighters. I've seen fighters do that. I've seen fighters, even in the Ultimate Fighter, say, I want to go home. When a fighter says that, it's over. That guy is not the guy.
It's a wrap.
That's not the guy who's going to go the full distance. The guy who's going to go the full distance who is literally almost delusional.
Yeah.
He's delusional and cocky, and if he keeps winning, he's a dangerous guy, because not only does he believe what he's doing, but he's proving it to himself. That's a dangerous guy until he gets knocked out.
Right.
And that's when usually a lot of somebody, and when you're a guy who did get knocked out and you come back and you're able to get that mental fortitude back again, that's a very powerful individual. But a lot of it is mental. A lot of it is a mental aspect of it. So that's another thing too, is to have your trying to have your brains together.
That's it is. Also, the audience picks up on it. Like, that's what I always think. Like, when Muhammad Ali stepped in the ring, he thought he was the most dangerous person in the fucking world.
Yeah,
and that's what I know.
Yeah, it's like you gotta train like as if do it like as if do the hardest thing like if you want to do it every day. You know what I mean? Like you love doing it. When you train like you love doing it, even though it hurts.
There's a Mike Tyson. Have you ever hear him get philosophical?
Oh yeah,
it's
ridiculous.
So I used to know a guy in Vegas who knew Mike, and I knew a couple of guys who knew Mike, and they always say Mike is a very philosophical guy. And before I got to know, really knew, you hear interviews with him, and I knew guys who were very close to him. I knew two guys who lived with him, and they said he's a very philosophical guy, but he's very emotional, and he's a very thought-provoking guy, and he's had his own play. But he comes from a place when he's a perfect example. when he was on fire, there was nobody who could get that. That was why he was such a feared individual.
Yeah.
And the fact that he really was robbed when he went to, I think it was Japan, and he fought Buster Douglas.
Yeah, 42
in
to 1.
that fight.
Yeah.
He dropped Buster Douglas earlier in that fight. I mean,
And
that was a
he
long
was
count.
counted out.
That
He
was a
was
long count, and
yeah.
that was not Mike at his best.
No.
You got to remember, he's a traveling guy going through things that you and I could not even understand at this level of life. That guy was going. It's hard to get into a training camp. People are telling you you're great wherever you go. You're getting your autograph. You're getting women, money. You're getting all the success.
No, I've been through that.
Really,
yeah.
you know what I mean?
Except for the women and the money
and the good looks and everything else.
And everything else.
Thank you. Hurtful.
But he was never the same.
You know,
He was
you have
never
women and money.
truly the same after that.
Right.
You know, and especially when Evander, who we were supposed to eat him alive, came back and
Literally
like he bit his ear, you know. And it's amazing the way those two can sit and joke about it now. And
I honestly, I can't. I see them, and I can't even fathom that they're together in the same room.
I know.
After the cannibalism and after the Tyson never beat him. Obviously, Holyfield beat him a couple of times. So when I see that, I'm like, how the fuck are these guys in the same room?
I will
Exactly
say
right.
this: there's nobody that can tell me that fight between Jake Paul and Mike Tyson was even that was an exhibition fight.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about it. I mean, it was a sad fight, as whatever
It was a money
it was.
fight.
Yeah,
It was a
money
money
You know, the women's fight before was phenomenal.
The two fights before it, I think there were two fights that were really good before.
but the two female boxers, I mean, they mutilated each other for 8 whatever it was. They just punched each other straight
so hot.
every single minute of every round. It
And
was
who the
hot.
hell knew that Rosie Perez was going to get
Right.
Oh, you're so stupid, Billy! Oh my
Yeah.
God! Come on over here! Come on, sit
Yeah.
down under me! You know, like
I turned it on because I thought it was Rosie O'Donnell. That's what I was. I wanted to see that.
no, yeah, well,
I love what you said. I want to go back to it for a second about visualizing something. Are you ever like on your way to a show or something that you just pictured soon before a show, and then you'll do it? You'll just put it on stage immediately, and then be blown away by the fact that it works like that.
I think that's what amazes you, even if it worked. You know, and you
Yeah.
go, "Wow, I can't believe it." You know, there's a couple of times where I visualized something. I remember going on Sirius once and doing Brewer to Brewer live on Sirius, you know, and we used to do this thing called comedy covers, and we would pick our favorite comedian and we would do a bit, and sometimes we do that favorite comedian as a character. So, you know, you could take somebody's bit and perform it as Christopher Walken, and I remember, or we would just take our favorite comedian and do their bit. It was, you know, and Brewer used to do it, but nobody had done Jim. You know, and I remember visualizing it in my head, and I went and learned his bit. We had a full band at Caroline's on Broadway, and I'll never forget it, you know, and the band came, and I remember how I thought of it in my head is exactly how we did. I learned his bit by bit, and then I just got loose with it. And he loved it, and it got a standing ovation, and it was great on Sirius, and I go, that was amazing, you know. That's something where I visualized it, and I sat, and, you know, where I was really conscious of remembering every word.
And the best feeling, right?
Yeah, and then when it happened, I remember going, "Oh my God, that could have been horrible. That could have been
Yeah,
had that gone any other way." You know?
that's unbelievable.
But that's fear.
yeah.
That's Frankie fear, you know. You know what I mean? But yeah, you have to be fearful. You have to be fearful. Anything if somebody says, I mean, you have to be relaxed, but it's hard to explain.
Yeah, no, I totally get it, and so does Mike and Tony. You get it too, don't you?
Are you afraid, Tony?
I'm afraid of Tony, actually. You know, it's funny. I've told this story on the show, and the first time that I ever really took a chance like this is a few years ago. I live a mile away from here, and I used to do a lot of these Thursday, Sunday night shows here at Governor's, like Mike, and I went to say goodbye to my kids, and at the time, I think my youngest was 5, my oldest was 7, and my baby was like 1. But I went to give a kiss goodbye to my 5-year-old, who's now a gorgeous, blue-eyed, blonde-haired, you know, stunning. But she was like a little kid with like cracked teeth and like all kind of like fucked up like little kids have. Yeah. And in my mind, from my house to here, I wrote a bit about little kids and how fucked up their teeth are. And the only way that I was going to actually do the bit that I wrote was if they put me up early. Because if I had to sit in that green room and think about it, I was never going to do it. I just wasn't going to have the balls. And I get here and Truson says, after the host, you go up first 5 minutes. This is, and I went ahead and it was a packed club and I did a bit. What do you guys think about kids and their fucked up teeth? And all of a sudden people just start like looking at me like, holy shit, yeah. And when you see people nodding, you got them. And I wrote the bit, did it, and it was one of the most successful moments I ever had on stage. And it didn't even matter to me what the rest of the set went like, which was good, but in my mind I'm like, I just fucking accomplished something that I never had the guts to do, which is to write a bit, come and do it, and just take a shot, and it worked.
Yeah, I always used to say, wouldn't it be the greatest thing to just go up on stage with no material?
Yeah.
No material, just do an experiment.
You might.
Have no material.
You might. What I do.
That was one of the things too. I think in the beginning, I would try to I was too you're too stiff. With it, and you're trying to stick, and you go just loosen.
Let's do this. You don't want to be robotic. You want it to be conversational. Like I had a bit like that. That's my closer now, and it was something I thought about, and something that happened to me when and I was talking to Keith Anthony about it in the green room. He goes, dude, it was just a story I was telling him. He's like, that's hilarious. Why don't you tell that on stage? And I went on. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna do it right.
That day?
I'm gonna do it right now. 10 minutes later. And
you want to do it on stage? I'm gonna do it right now.
I'm gonna do it right now.
In the green room for you. I'm gonna do it.
And now that's my closing bit.
And how long ago was that? A couple of years ago?
About a year ago.
Wow.
Maybe, about a year ago.
I never make it as far as the end of your set.
You've never seen that one yet, yeah. So, I'll open with it next time.
If you open it, I might still be in there. I might still make it. It's so funny, and certainly no one has to tell you how to do your career. But as you're talking, I keep thinking to myself what you had said about Two Times Tommy. What's the guy? What's his fellow's name? Big Time Tommy, who's great and has a big following. I don't even. Are you even on TikTok and Instagram, or you don't really?
Yeah,
have...
and hardly any. I hardly post anything. It's so bad, and I just go. It's so bad that I go. I should be on it more. It's like irresponsible of me.
It's a tool to use, and I'd never use it.
Let me ask you, what kind of content when you do put it out, are you doing impersonations on there, or you're not?
That's the thing too. Everybody goes, "Well, how come you're not doing this or posting?" So I post the goofiest shit.
So
and
what's
I I'll be the
interesting
first to admit it.
Is that you're really extremely talented. Obviously, your impersonations are spot on, and even though it's really not what you want to be doing, it could really be a means to an end for you. If you just go ahead and commit and even just pay some kid to help you put up content where you're just doing little things.
Man should do that.
I'm just telling you, there's not a lot to this for you because you have the content. That's the hardest part.
You have an act.
If you just record yourself a few times a day and then there's tons of people. Sal can find you someone who will help you just put up the stuff because you don't want to be dealing with the technical bullshit, obviously.
That's what my biggest problem is. I hate doing it because I see guys sitting there for like they're literally for at 20 minutes to
listen,
I'm like,
what I'm telling you is if you consistently, Chris Monty, obviously, Monty does his street jokes, and he gets
and I'm always liking them when I see them.
Of course, but he'll have 15,000 views, and what that does is it helps him grow his brand. Okay, so your brand is forever
brand.
Your 100 grand bar. Your brand is always growing, but I think you'd be almost shocked about your following will grow infinitesimally, just like Vic's did. Vic DiBitetto was a road warrior forever, and then he did Bread and Milk, and now
Bread and Milk. Could you imagine?
Yeah,
and I always say
that.
Look at Rodea. Yeah. God bless him. I spoke to Anthony not too long ago. I want to start. I was like, I start working on stand-up act again, and I said, really want to start working on my straight stand-up, not singing.
Yeah,
just my straight stand-up again. I want you to come down. Let me work on it. And I was like, busting his balls, But it's like when you think about this guy, just he created these genius little TikTok. What they were TikTok,
little characters,
during
whatever.
the COVID, and the next thing you know, he blew up, and he's worked on his stand-up. He's become like this since I go, go for you, man.
Absolutely.
Well,
he sat in his basement and he looked at all the algorithms, what time to post, what hashtags to use, and it worked for him.
Yeah, I mean,
he put the work in. It's another way of putting in work.
Yeah. I guess he was home too, right? It wasn't. I guess it was during COVID, and he was doing stuff, and he created these. God bless him. He made time.
Listen, Billy, the people are out there People want to watch stuff that is going to entertain them. About a month ago, there's a viral video that came out. It was the Valley Stream North class of '89, their last day of school. And 1 million people sent it to me because thinking that I graduated from Valley Stream North in '89. I graduated from Valley Stream South in '89. Anyway, this weekend, I said, I'm going to go ahead and put up a little respawn video to this class of '89 thing. I put it up within an hour. It had 40,000 views on Instagram of me and my classmates from the class of '89 Valley. So my point is, not that that's such a big deal, because it isn't, but you're going to be putting out content of David Lee Roth, Ozzy, Stallone. If you just commit yourself to even a minute a day where you do this and you just find someone that's going to help you do the content, I'm telling you, Billy, we'll meet back here in 6 months, and it'll be a whole different ball of wax.
I know.
Then he won't come on our show.
All right, Keegs. So tomorrow morning, I'm going to have the what do you like, eggs, breakfast special. Come on, tell me what, eggs, bacon, cheese. Yeah. So,
promise me you'll consider
that's
that.
another video that everybody. I did that during the pandemic, but I never.
This is the Gordon Lightfoot, right?
Yeah,
I love this.
God,
I never.
So good.
I never tagged it. I just get it. And everybody's like, this should have like 1 million views. I'm like, I don't know. What did I do wrong with this video?
The production on the video was awesome. You were awesome covering.
It's got
Gordon
thousands of
Lightfoot.
views, but it's not like it should have like hundreds and hundreds of
Oh,
thousands
no.
of
I
views.
listened to it today. It's terrific. Yeah. Well, I think you need to do that. We have gotten through an hour super quick. We appreciate you being here so much. Please, once again, let's talk about the 1214 show, because that's super important.
Hilarious Hitman happening December 14th at the McGuire's, which is Governors. I always get confused. Is it
Governors,
Governors?
Governors, yeah.
McGuire's Governors.
Bohemia.
And Bohemia, New York. Come down, check us out. We're going to have a great time. It's a holiday Christmas show. And I guess go to govs.com for tickets.
govs.com. You'll have Billy Mira, Sal Governale, Tony Landolfi opening.
Yes.
Will Richard Christie be there also?
I don't think Richard's going to be on this show.
No, okay.
We'll post all the links.
Richard comes to certain shows.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is not the full band. It's the band in a box, we like to call it.
Yeah.
But it's still the full comedy show, and we sing, and we do a whole thing that we have planned.
It's the
and
complete
it's a-
gamut of entertainment. I'm
love
probably
it.
going to stop down. And,
Yeah, I hope you see you
it'll
guys
be,
there. Really,
yeah,
I hope
terrific.
you come down.
So get your
Awesome.
tickets now. if they're
Today.
still
Lose
available.
it, snow.
Yeah.
Comrade.
So actually,
Let's
that's a
hang
good
out.
point.
Let's
So you
hang out.
have Billy Mira and Sal show on the 14th in McGuire's. You have Hershey and the Keegs comedy show at the Brokerage Comedy Club on Thursday, 12/12 at 8 o'clock. You have myself performing, Mike Keegan. You have Mike Delaquella. You have Fat Jay. You have Boy Friday, Jake Chapman. Keith Anthony, the living legend,
Yep.
and Mike Stiltz. What's his? Is that
Mike Kurz.
Kurz? I knew it was something with a Z at
Mike
the end.
Stiltz, yeah.
So go to GOVS for that. Mikey, anything you want to promote before we head out?
Thursday night I'll be at the Emmaus Theater in Philadelphia this coming
beautiful.
Thursday.
Good.
December 20th and 21st I'll be at the Comedy Zone in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
Yes, you will.
That'll be fun. And me and Carla are doing some production stuff coming up in January.
Okay.
We're doing January 4th here in the Giggle Room.
Yeah, I'll be
we're
here
doing
for that.
We're doing a, no, you won't. We're doing a Republican-themed comedy show. It's called The Insurrection of Comedy.
I'm sure Carla will love that.
It was Carla's idea. She's producing it.
Okay.
Me, Downey, Kevin Downey Jr., and John Santo and Pat Marone are going to do a Trump off. They both do Trump impressions.
Okay. Wonderful.
And then January 18th, we just got a new venue in the Bronx. It's a Millennium Boxing and Fitness Gym.
I heard that room is terrific.
The room is awesome.
I heard
We're
it's a
gonna
great
have,
room,
We're
yeah.
gonna have Tara Canastracy's going to headline.
Love it.
And Nick Simmons is going to feature. It's a great show.
Killer show. Good.
So it's on all our socials. We're going to share Billy and Sal's show on our socials.
Absolutely.
Make sure you get tickets.
Thanks, guys.
No doubt.
Absolutely.
And Knock 'em Dead comedy show. Tone, what do you got going on, brother?
Thank you very much. Well, you got you guys on the 12th. You got the 14th. Well, on the 13th, right here in the Giggle Room, Mike Bichetti and friends performing in the Giggle Room. I'll be hosting, and the Evil Twins of Comedy will be performing. Mark Riccadonna and Don Jameson.
Love
It's
it.
going to be a great show. And then after the show, Don Sill will be hosting a Q&A with the comedians.
Love Don.
It's going to be a great great night.
So we got 12/12, Hershey and the Keegs. 12/13, Mike Bichetti and friends. 12/14, Sal and Billy Mira, the Hitmen. And it's really going to be a wonderful week of comedy and music and love and friendship.
And
Billy,
don't forget to vote Hershey and the Keegs, best podcast on Long Island.
and also
Best
you
of Long
vote
Island.
on Best of Long Island. You're going to vote for Mike Keegan as Best Republican, Carla Okerson as best comedian, Hershey and the Keegs for best podcast, and if you don't vote for Hershey and the Keegs, vote for Sue Galena, because she also is up as a candidate for that. Billy Mira, we can't thank you enough. We hope you enjoyed this as much as we did.
Absolutely, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for the support and love, and
Absolutely.
I wish you guys all the best, and I love you guys.
Yeah, God bless.
I'll come back anytime.
Thank you so
That's
much.
tomorrow.
All right, folks, we will talk to you. Thank you so much for being here. We're not here next week because I believe that the studio is closed on Tuesday, or you have a show, or OAR or something.
Juliana has a thing.
Juliana has a thing. We'll be back.
Catch Juliana singing at the Jones Beach Light Show next Tuesday night.
Oh, we'll be there for that.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll be there for that. We'll be back on the 17th. I believe we're going to have Boy Friday, Jakey Chapman on the show with us. So we'll see you guys then. Have a great week. We love you. Bye-bye. See ya.